Hi, it's Jez here again with my first junk journal. So this is the second part in the series, which is making the cover. So I've been collecting boxes and to make covers with. Just want to make this an easy thing. You can use actual book covers, or you can make them out of cardboard boxes. Now this one is just about the perfect size. So I'm going to cut it up and see if it works. So I don't want to use my nice craft scissors, so I'm going to get another pair for cutting this down. So there's usually a seam, so that's what we're going to do, is sort of tear it down the seam. So let's get my junk journal and kind of have a little look. So there is room for it to move, which is good, although I imagine it will splay out in the end. And I think that does work really well for the width, but we need to cut the length. So I'm just going to eyeball kind of where I want it. I'm going to trim a bit off the top and the bottom so that I get a bit more of a straight line. I do want that bit to be fairly accurate, so I'll go about there and about there. So I'm going to get my guillotine for this, because I think it's I think that'll work well. So because it's going through both all that thickness, I'm gonna, because that's now straight, I'm just gonna trim a sliver off that to make that straight. Trim that, and then fold it on that spine bit so that we can trim a sliver off that to make sure that that's straight. And that should have a nice, neat cover. That should be roughly about the same size all the way round. And it is. So I think that works really well for the cover. So now we need to decorate it, and I've seen it done with fabric and paper, and I want to make sure that these creases here are reinforced, because there'll be lots of opening and closing of it. And years ago, when I first did a mini album, I watched the lovely Kathy Auto does amazing mini albums, and she used a paper called Tyvek, which you basically can't rip. So I think I'm going to stick that sort of here in the centre bit to reinforce that before I start. I might put it on both sides, in fact, before I start decorating. So I'll just get that. So I found my Tyvek. I was doing some clearing up for Christmas and found it, and then I can't remember where I'd actually decided was a good foam for it, and despite having found it, I can't remember where I decided the foam was. Right, so I have used this before on a book, beautiful and smooth. You can sort of see the fibres in the paper, but it's, I'll show you on this little piece. Oh, I've just dropped something. It's probably my glue. You can't rip it. The paper doesn't rip. So that is what's so cool about it and why I want to use it. So I've got a piece here that I've already cut for a different project, and that would probably work. So my idea was to do a strip just across the where it's going to bend. I think I'll put a piece on each side just to reinforce it really. Not sure if I don't want it a little bit wider, just to be on the safe side. So I'll get another sheet out. I might just lob it in half and put half a sheet on this side and half a sheet on the other. That will probably work. Got 10 sheets. No idea how much I paid for it because I literally bought it years and years ago. So let's just cut this in half. I feel like my camera's really zoomed in. Oh, it's not really, is it? There we go. So I'm literally just going to cut this in half. I possibly don't need that much, but I'm going to use it anyway. So, that's bigger than A4, isn't it? Burk. What an idiot. Right, scrub that as an idea. See, this is what I mean. I wanted to make my mistakes on this one. So maybe I'll go back to that and I'll just do another strip on that and then cut it down. I can use these for something else. Because I would use this to reinforce the books that I've got. Let's just do 2 strips this size. So that's about at that green mark. So let's cut this down to that green mark. That'll do. There we go. And so I'm going to glue these down and then trim it off, I think. So going to be to about there. I could actually do the other side. Might do that for the next one. There's large spaces. So make it even. That's it. Get glue on your hands straight away, Jez. So then we'll just trim that off. Like so. And then we'll put it on the other side. And I've got a credit card somewhere just to smooth it out. I'll do this one. Now these spreader end, I always forget to use the spreader end, but on big spaces like this, It's really good. And then you can stand it up, whereas normally I store it the other way up. So all the glue is at the other end, ready for when I want to use the small nozzle. There we are, and I'll just trim that. And I shall put that, I might use that for something. And we'll just smooth that out, make sure that glue is getting right to the edge. That seemed to have, this has got a shiny coating on, it's not really liking that, is it? Never known that before with Tombow. Come up like that. Maybe it just needs a little bit longer to adhere. Or maybe there just wasn't much on those edges. Getting a bit sticky. I'm just gonna get a bit of hand sanitizer. I find that usually helps a little bit with stickiness. Right. So that's those bits done. And let's fold it up again. Make sure it can crease, and on the other side so those edges there should be great, and they shouldn't tear as the book is used a lot. So now we need to cover the rest of it, and so I've got some, I'm going to use cardstock. There are 2 sheets, fell on the floor. So this is Stampin' Up! Crumb Cake, and I thought that would go really well with all the sort of tea-dyed paper, and I can distress this as well with inks. So I've got 2 bits of A4, and I thought we'd just put them side by side, and then that fits on quite nicely. I thought that was, I thought I was going to trim down, and then when I put it on it was like, oh, actually that's pretty perfect. So I want to stick these down, and I've got some special acid-free Scotch tape. I saw it the other day, and of course now I want it. I can't find it. Let me find it. But I seem to have ran out a little bit of space on my phone then, and I didn't realise. You just missed a bit of me waffling on and putting the sellotape down there. That was it really. And I was just about to begin to explain that I'm using the colour glue, because with this just being a packet, I want to get some extra stiffness, and although adding cardstock will, this glue adds it as well. When you glue with this, I might just glue up a little bit there, you do, it seems to add stiffness, so that's why I'm going to use this, especially when I discovered that the coating on this box seems to not be happy with Tombow. So yeah, I thought we'd use this. So I'm getting it all over. I've got a nice spreading of glue. I will twist it up, and then it comes with its own spreader. So I'll just give it a bit of a spread around. I usually find with collard that it likes a little bit of wait time between adding it and then sticking something to it. Sort of goes a little bit tackier, and it adheres quicker when you do that. So that's that. So then I'm just going to slap it on this. I'm going to eyeball where I think is straightness, making it fairly even. Give it a good press down. Using my old Burton card. I think I got this Burton card because I think if you open the account you got 10% off, and I was buying Liam a winter coat. It was his birthday present, I think. It was like, you've hit that age, son, when your birthday present is a boring old coat. It's a lovely coat, and so I think I got 10% off by opening a Burton account. So I opened the Burton account, got the 10% off, and paid it off straight away. So that was worth it. Never bought anything else from Burton again. There we go. So that's that. And just going to check it on the other side. That's stuck nicely down the centre there. I'm going to cover the spine anyway, so you won't actually see that join. So now we need to cut across the corners there. And so when you're cutting across the corners, you need to leave a bit of a gap there. And not go all the way. Am I in shot there? So you need to have a little bit there. Otherwise you'll expose the corners. We don't really want to do that. I've seen lovely like metal corners you can put on books. So I think Tim Holtz makes things like that. So I am thinking that I might do that. Right, and then I'm just going to sort of go along the edge with my bone folder. It's not particularly thick card, but if I go along like that, sort of help then with the old folding and give a nice little neater finish. So the edges are sort of, this works really well with chipboard because chipboard is much thicker. And then fold that like that. Fold the other side up, and I'm going to get some tape for folding these, sticking these edges down. And so now that it's folded over, you can see that that folded edge goes off there, and then as that comes over, your corner's covered. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold that over like so on both sides before we start gluing it down. You see how by doing that little bit of a score line along the edge, it's sort of made the folding up a little bit easier. So now that will fold over, and those edges are all covered like so. So that's why you do that. So I'm going to get some double-sided tape. I've got some brown tape here. I shall use that. Stick it there. Right along the edge. Prefer this brown tape to the red tape. It is allegedly as strong, but it is easier to work with because you haven't got that that bit of red plastic that kind of sticks to you. Plus we are reducing our plastic, and so I'm just going to use up the stock I've got, and I do have a few rolls, and never ever buy it again. Get rid of that. So then we just need to take the top off. This is when nails help. I don't have any of them. It's usually pretty good at lifting up this. There we go. And then we'll just fold that over. Do the same on the bottom. That's the covered. So we might just be some odd little bits that you need to trim at the edge. There we go. So then just going to go over it again, make sure it's nicely stuck down, and go over those edges a bit with the edge of my bone folder. Because I use the tape, there should be some sort of stickier bit on there, and then we just need to pull up where it's creased again so we can see where the creases should be. So let's put them back in. And then on the other side, and this is already getting a lot stiffer than it was. And that is that. So I'm going to cover that spine up, but that's, you can hear it, quite a strong cover there. I could have that on there to match that first signature, and that on there to match the last one. Obviously the flowers will be a different orientation. I think that might be quite nice. So let's have a little measure. Don't like that one, it's not inches. Looks like I'm going to have to do centimetres. Right, so this measures to that point roughly about 18 centimetres, so we want to leave a bit. So if we go to 17.5 centimetres, does that work on that side? Yeah, it does. So I'm going to cut down to 17.5 centimetres. Seventeen and a half centimetres. Yep, perfect that way, and then this way it is just over 22 centimetres. So if we go to 21.5, we want to go to more than 21.5, we want to go to like 21.75, I would say. Keep those strips for something else. So that's 21.5, so halfway to the, well, we may as well go between the two twos there. Doo-doo. That will work. Fabulous. Right, so let's do this. Put that between the two twos there. And then what was this? 17.5, wasn't it? There we go. And that fit on the inside really nicely. Go over there slightly. Maybe a little tad more it would have been. So I might just stick a strip down the centre. Cover that up. Just glue it down the centre. Is it the right size? Yeah. Yeah, so I'll glue that down the centre. So let's ink these up before we do that. So I'm going to get some rough paper and let's get inking. So I've got my neutrals here. This is Only Espresso, soft foam and crumb cake. Quite like that. I've got my brushes. So, and I've got my sponges because I do like to do the edge differently. So, might do a soft suede edge actually. This one only needs the top and the bottom because the edges are going to get covered. As well, so we've got, so we're going to stick that down the centre. I'm going to put put this one on that side. And this one on that side. And then that will look lovely. And then I just want to ink the edges of this cover. Thinking that's looking good. I don't know if I put an espresso up there. Don't think I did. There. So I hope that's coming out on camera, how that looks. But I think that's distressed quite well. And on the inside, yep. Rub that out. Right, let's put that ink away. Put them over there. And let's bring in what we're going to glue down. So that's going to get glued on there. That over there. Over there. So I'm going to bring in my collal glue again. If I could actually see what happened to it, it fell on the floor. So, oh, bit of ribbon there. That'd be quite nice, that. So we'll glue this one in. So I'm going to use this because this will add another little bit of stiffness to the cover. There is kind of some script on it, which is obviously directional, so need to keep that in mind. Yeah. So yeah, so that's the top. Well, you can sell that with a flower actually. Achoo! Achoo! Excuse me. So put this over it. I've watched so many of these videos and they all use different glues. I watch a lot of US ones and they use a lot of glue sticks, which glue sticks are like, I always considered quite rubbish glues. Didn't think it would stick very well at all. It's probably because being a teacher, we I still think my fingers are stained a bit. We just buy cheap stuff until I got in charge of my own budget, and then I bought better quality. But it used to be that we bought cheap stuff and they used to dry out and they'd be rubbish and nothing would stick. So I think that's why I'm not a glue stick lover. There we go. But I am a lover of this glue. Do sometimes get a bit sticky with it. I remember doing teaching my, and you get that string, teaching my niece how to make a waterfall mini album, and she wasn't liking this glue at all. But it is preference. My middle sister likes using the tape all the time. But I just think that takes an age. I use it for certain things like I did with sticking the cover, but it isn't something that I tend to use a lot of because of the time it takes. Right, let's screw that lid up. So that's the cover done, and actually when you fold it up you don't have that bit in the middle, so actually what I need to do is, it's still got a bit of wiggle room, is fold it up and push that into the corners. Because there was some movement there. That I wasn't liking very much. So it does take slightly longer for this to dry than it does Tombow. And you can see again, or feel again. Oh, camera's telling me I'm running out of battery, which is quite good timing, so that I can do the sewing in the signatures in a separate video. So that's that all ready for my signatures. It's looking fab. Okay, so I'll leave it there, go and do some charging up, and then we'll film sewing in the signatures.